How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 2.
Greetings, conversationalists. Welcome across the fruited plain. It is Eric Erickson. I am coming to you live from Sea Island, Georgia, meeting with the Speaker of the House later. It's a good time here. I got asked to speak at a conference. It's a who's who off the record. Not going to tell you what's going on. But so, by the way, just for perspective, Jim, you and I did not have a chance to discuss this, but it explains all circumstances for you of me doing the show down here in Sea Island today. So I went to the Falcons-Chargers game yesterday. It was a 1 p.m. game with my buddy Jeff. We went and had a cigar afterwards, hit the road. It never even dawned on me Thanksgiving traffic. It didn't dawn on me that all the people would be going back to Florida. So between Atlanta and my house, which is normally an hour and 15 minute to an hour and 30-minute drive, it took about 2.5 to 3 hours to get home. And I had to drop Jeff off on the way. I got home, packed my bag, went to the studio. It got all my equipment. I've got a big Pelican. It's a heavy-duty case. I can put so I have a little unit that I use to connect to the radio station. I have a mixer and all that other stuff. So I load it all in, drive to the coast, wrecks and stuff along I-16, which it's a barren wasteland. They really should get rid of the speed limit. But I finally made it, and it was about 12:30 in the morning. I decided I should get some espresso just to be on the safe side. Normally I'm a night owl, but I'd had a couple glasses of bourbon during the day, and I was like, I could get sleepy. I should have some espresso. 3 o'clock in the morning, went to sleep. Up this morning to do show prep. I got a meetings. My schedule got changed a little bit with people I got to see. It's been wild. So, but I appreciate you guys. I enjoy the time off, but I miss being with you guys. So I'm happy to do this. I'll take a nap at 3 for a little while, then go see everybody I got to see. And then either tonight or in the morning, I'll get up and drive home. Now, we need to talk about Kash Patel. Okay. Let me say the critical thing first, and please listen to me. Don't get mad at me. Don't hang up. Don't call your program director and complain or the advertiser. Just listen to me. I want to make one very basic point. And it's going to sound condescending. I don't mean it to be condescending. I really don't. So when you hear me say what I'm about to say, don't interpret it as condescending. That's on you. It's not on me. If you're offended, work on yourself so that I don't have to offend you again. I just find it very weird, very odd how so many people in MAGA land and on the right are obsessively excited about the Kash Patel pick. It is a phenomenon of the hyper online right. And you may say, well, I'm not online. I'm not on Twitter, and I'm so excited. But you are being catechized by the hyper online. It's just very weird to me. I don't care, and it's not a bad pick. I'm not insulting the pick. I just find it so weird. And the weirder part of it is, and I know. It doesn't matter who it would be, the level of celebrity. Oh my God, I can't believe we got this guy. It's just weird. It's just one dude. Come on. Okay, it's this cult of personality stuff still creeps me out, particularly on the right after the Obama years and mocking them for a cult of personality. And we got cults of personality for freaking FBI nominee half the country doesn't even know anything about. And it's from the people who are hyper politicized by the online crowd. It's just weird. That being said, if you're still with me here, that being said, it's a good pick. And how do I know it's a good pick? I know because Andrew McCabe is not happy. Here he is on CNN.
There's a whole conversation to be had about whether or not he's qualified for the job. I would argue he's clearly not. He doesn't have the experience and knowledge of the law enforcement community. Is a fairly undistinguished legal career. He doesn't really have a fraction of the qualifications that any former FBI director chosen by any president has. But that's really not my main concern. My main concern is what it says about Donald Trump's intention for the FBI and where Kash Patel might take the FBI if he's confirmed as director. And that all points in one direction, and that is back to the FBI's regretful history of acting as essentially the enforcement arm for the president's political activities. That's where we come from as an institution. That's who we were under our first director, J. Edgar Hoover. But it is something we've gotten away from in the last 50 years, the post-Watergate, post-Church Committee, Pike Committee investigations. And the FBI today is an independent entity that the nation relies on to enforce its criminal laws and protect it from national security threats. So I think it's a really, really concerning pick.
Okay, but is it really an independent agency? Because I'm old enough to remember the FBI investigating parents who showed up at school board meetings who were worried about the things that their children were being taught in school, that they might be right-wing, white nationalist subversive. I'm old enough to remember all of the anti-Semitic attacks in this country by left-wing college protesters, and the FBI telling us the biggest threat is white nationalists in this country. I'm old enough to remember the Steele dossier, and I'm old enough to remember all the people within the national security apparatus of the United States telling us the Hunter Biden laptop was fake when it was actually real. Here's Molly Young Fast having a normal one over at MSNBC.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this is particularly personal because my grandfather was jailed in the House on Un-American Activities. So I've seen what an FBI director going after writers looks like firsthand, though I wasn't alive then. But I think that you're right. And I think the question is really, will these Republican senators use advise and consent, right? Second Amendment, the Article 2, Section 2, and really use the separation of powers to look at these cabinet members.
Okay. One more here. This is a conversation also on MSNBC between Jonathan Lemire, who, remember, is the political reporter who smugly covered for Joe Biden, trying to excuse him when he said that Donald Trump's supporters were garbage. He tried to come up with all sorts of conjured excuses based on twisted readings of a transcript. It's him, and it's Ken Delanian, who is the MSNBC national security reporter. Just listen to a little bit of this, particularly with John Lemire opening his indictment of Kash Patel.
Ken, let's get reaction from people you've talked to about this potential selection. And let's be clear what Patel has said he will do if he were to get this job. He would target Trump's political opponents, including members of the media. He also said he would shut down FBI headquarters, turn it into a museum of the deep state, in his words, and also purge the roles of those in the preeminent law enforcement agency in this country. What is the initial response here to what Patel's vision would look like?
Well, Jonathan, no one would be surprised to know that people at the Justice Department, the FBI, current and former, are horrified. People of all political persuasions, by the way, by this idea. And just to be clear about something, the proposal that Bill Barr said amounted to a shocking detachment from reality was to make Kash Patel the deputy FBI director under Chris Wray in the prior Trump administration. Now they're talking about elevating him to lead, as David said, not only the most powerful law enforcement agency in the country, one of the most powerful national security agencies. And I got to emphasize this to our viewers because a lot of people don't really understand everything the FBI does. The FBI director wields incredible power in the United States. And for anyone who doesn't believe that, go read a biography of J. Edgar Hoover. Now, we don't live in the Hoover days anymore, but the FBI still, they have people who can break into your home and plant a bug and you'll never know about it. And they can get secret warrants, national security warrants to do that, and no one will ever find out. They can obtain the records of news media phone calls and we'll never hear about it, assuming a Justice Department set of guidelines on that is overturned. So this is an incredibly powerful job. And just at a very basic level, Kash Patel is not qualified for it by objective standards. I mean, past FBI directors, the past three, have all been very senior officials in the Justice Department with long experience as prosecutors.
Okay. Just hear me out. Hear me out on this. Maybe I'm a little off. But if you're that concerned with Kash Patel being in charge of the FBI, maybe you shouldn't have the FBI be as powerful as it is. Just a wild thing here. This constantly goes back to the indictment of the media over Donald Trump, the indictment of the media over Kash Patel, the indictment of the media over Pete Hegseth now, over all these people it's just too much power to give this person. Well, you've made the choice to give individual Americans that much power. You don't have to give them that power. Except the problem is the Democrats don't want to neuter the organizations. They don't want to rein in the power because the Democrats want that power for themselves. The Democrats want the power. They just don't want their political opponents to have the power. If they were more intellectually honest about it, they would say, hey, we do need to gut these agencies. Actually, having a bull in the china shop so that Congress reins in the power of these organizations would actually be a good thing. Maybe we shouldn't be doing the FISA warrants the way we're doing them. Maybe we should have more transparency than we have. Maybe the FBI director shouldn't be as powerful as he is. Maybe the president shouldn't have the power. Maybe the bureaucracy shouldn't have as much power. But the left wants the bureaucracy to have all of that power. And so they're not willing to gut any of these institutions. They just don't want the right to have access to them. But there's no such thing as permanence in American politics. And by the way, this is why the Democrats are the authoritarians they say Donald Trump is. Why is that? Because they don't want Republicans to ever be able to win elections again. It's why the Democrats, should they have gotten the Senate, wanted to get rid of the filibuster and add Puerto Rico and D.C. as states to be able to add 4 more Democratic seats to the Senate. Except don't look now, Puerto Rico flipped Republican. And it's questionable constitutionally if D.C. could become a state, except they would pack the Supreme Court with new justices to give them exactly what they wanted. They are the authoritarians they've warned us about. They don't want to gut the power. They just don't want to share the power. Maybe this should be a wake-up call again for the Democrats, that when you embolden these institutions to be as powerful as they are, it's a bad thing, and you shouldn't trust yourself with the power. Throw the damn ring in the volcano and melt it so nobody can use it. It seems so obvious to me, but it's not obvious at all to any of these people. And that in and of itself is kind of the problem here, is you have at core a group of people in Washington, and not just Democrats, Republicans as well, who they trust the power so long as their kind of people get the power. And if their kind of people don't get the power, and for a very long time, their kind of people always got the power. But as I've been saying for the last number of years, we're undergoing a political realignment in this country. And there is no certainty and no guarantee that their kind of people are going to get power, because, in fact, right now, their kind of people are out of power across the federal government. MAGA has a trifecta. They're the bad people, according to the president. They're the bad people, according to the president. They're the bad people, according to even some Republicans. But they got the power now. They get to wield it. And by the way, they're pretty sure you guys were wielding it against them. You know, a shredder truck showed up at the DOJ the other day. What exactly are they shredding? If you enable an institution like the FBI to have as much power as you've given it. Don't expect that power to always be used by yourself. There's no such thing as permanence in American politics. And you Democrats, instead of just trying to keep Republicans out of office, maybe you should keep them from power by taking the power away from these institutions, which is something, by the way, Republicans want as well. Greetings, welcome back. It's Eric Erickson here. Okay, remember, if you will please, because we're gonna be starting this project soon. If you will please text the word Army to 33777. If you're listening by podcast or live stream in particular, here's why. We got a number of people who have said, I would love to get you on the radio in my area. We're going to start emailing those of you who are willing to help us. So text Army to 33777. Put in your name, your zip code, your email address. We are talking to a number of radio stations. We're picking up a station in Anchorage, Alaska. And it's listeners who are reaching out saying, hey, I would love to get this guy on my radio station. Love to have Eric Erickson. And so we're going to start reaching out to those of you who want to help us. And a lot of you have said yes. This is how. Text Army to 33777. And we will be in touch. We're looking forward to recruiting you guys to help us get on more stations as we grow. I just, as an aside, I want to talk about the Kamala Harris stuff. Did you see her video? It came out the other day. She looked drunk. I mean, she really did look like she had been on a bender. I don't blame her. She's got to be exhausted after running for the presidency. I'm trying not to kick her while she's down. But I do think it's notable that this video came out from the DNC, and it came just after two stories, one saying she wanted to run again, and two saying she was leading in the polls of Democrats. I think we're about to see a major effort by Democrats to sabotage the future of Kamala Harris's political career because they've known all along she was a good candidate. So, I'll get into that. But I got more to say on the Kash Patel stuff when I come back, and I need you to come back because I need to tell you something. I don't have time to tell you here. Just please come back on the other side of the break. You need to hear what I've got to say. First, I need to tell you about Swiss America. They are the trusted leader in precious metals for 40 years in this country. They've been warning people about a secret war on cash. If you're interested in safeguarding your hard-earned cash from the secret war on cash, you need to get their free report, the Rated A Plus by the Better Business Bureau, and they can educate you on protecting your assets. In their report, it takes less than 15 minutes to read. It's completely free. Get your complimentary copy of their report on the secret war on cash by calling or texting 800-289-2646. The all-out war on cash includes digital forms of currency. It's growing. It's spreading. So read the secret war on cash report completely free. Just for my listeners, you call or text my name, Eric, E-R-I-C-K. Call or text my name, Eric, to 800-289-2646. That's 800-289-2646. One more time, just text my name, Eric, E-R-I-C-K, or call the number and say Eric sent me. 800-289-2646. Message and data rates may apply. Hello, America. Welcome back. It's Eric Erickson. Again, I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Now looking forward to the Christmas season. I gotta. There's something I normally do of the first day of December on radio. I'm gonna put it off till the next hour because I need to talk to you about this. I've spent a lot of time thinking about this over Thanksgiving. There's no rest for the weary when it comes to this. I gotta keep engaged and be thoughtful. I want to talk a little more about the Kash Patel pick for the FBI, but from a little different angle, because I will tell you, I do share some concerns about institutional integrity with the FBI, and I don't know that he is the most qualified person, but if you want to take a wrecking ball to the agency, he's the perfect person to hire. He is the guy that you need to put in there. Here's my concern, though, that I think I gotta articulate for everybody else here. Those of you who are concerned about institutional integrity and those of you who are concerned about norms need to understand that there are a lot of people in the United States, myself included, who have concluded that these notions of institutional integrity and norms that have been set up in the media and by the talking heads in Washington and by the politicians and the bureaucrats and the technocrats, these aren't really things about institutional integrity and norms. These are actually systems and constructs to protect a ruling class of elite people in the United States of America and their families. And as we've seen with Joe Biden's pardon of Hunter Biden, when suddenly the rule of law goes against them, they activate cheat codes that they get access to that no one else gets access to. Joe Biden today says that this was a political persecution of Hunter Biden, and no one can have any doubt this was a political persecution of Hunter Biden, except it's his Justice Department. If it's a political persecution of Joe Biden's son, why is Joe Biden persecuting his son? It's his Justice Department. He could have stopped it. In fact, there are legitimate issues, and to call it political persecution is no different from the things Donald Trump said, except the difference is that Donald Trump is not part of this establishment system. Donald Trump is not part of the system. Donald Trump stands in opposition to the system, and that's why they hate him. That's why they hate people like Kash Patel. It's why they hate these people who can come into the system and break down the system. It's like they want to discredit as many picks as possible that are outside the norm, because the norm was established by these people to protect these people. And so when someone outside the norm comes in, many of us are programmed to say this is an anomaly, this isn't good, this is a problem. But why? Why? Not because they're bad picks per se, although they might be. We are indoctrinated, so to speak, into doing that because there is a framework of people who perpetuate a system that doesn't benefit Americans, but benefits those people. My concern is not that Kash Patel is going to wreck the FBI. My concern is that Kash Patel, Pete Hegseth, Robert Kennedy, I got lots of concerns about him. Some of these other picks, that they're not going to wreck the system. My concern, here's what I want. Here's what I want. I want Donald Trump's picks to savage the system so badly that it forces Congress to actually be Congress and take power back and say, we've given the executive too much power, this is wrong, we should bring it back. That's what I want. I want the bull in the china shop because I want a smaller government. I want a government so small I can drown it in the bathtub. And I think if you put a Kash Patel, a Pete Hegseth, and others in, they break the system down so it stops protecting the established norms and re-ups real norms and re-ups the rule of law in a way that isn't rule of law, air quotes, to protect the left, but actual rule of law, actual constitution, actual reigning in the size and scope of government. My fear is that these guys actually, they bluster, they say the right things on social media, they are performative for Donald Trump, but they're not actually competent enough to do what they say they're going to do. And in that case, the system and the norms are going to actually drive them out, conform them, co-opt them, undermine them, and outlast them. And I don't want those norms to outlast them. My concern is not that they're bulls in the china shop. My concern is that they're sheeps in wolf clothing. That they're lambs in bull and china shop clothing. That they're unable to undermine the deep state. Because, again, I want a smaller government. And I think if they do go in and they systematically undermine these systems and these constructs, it will force Congress to have to rein it all in. What I want to point out in regarding all the talk about undermining norms and the like is go back to Merrick Garland and his nomination for the Supreme Court. When Merrick Garland was nominated for the United States Supreme Court, Mitch McConnell said he's not even going to get a hearing in the Senate. And the Republicans themselves agreed no hearing in the Senate. And the Democrats, and not just the Democrats, but the anchors and the reporters and the objective analysts, they all said this was a breaking of norms. This was a shattering of the norms. But keep in mind, what were those norms? Those norms were systems and constructs put in place to protect the left. It's why right now the shattering of norms and the bureaucracy protects the left. The bureaucracy institutionally overwhelmingly leans left. And all those people who were upset that Mitch McConnell refused to give Merrick Garland a hearing, all those people who said this was a shattering of norms, this was against tradition, this was in defiance of the Constitution and the expectations of the Constitution and the unwritten rules of the Constitution, all these things, these people are now like, well, I mean, they don't even have to give these guys a hearing. These guys, I mean, these are unqualified people. The Senate can reject them. The Senate's an institutional independent body. It can do what it wants. So all the people who said that the Senate had to do Barack Obama's will with Merrick Garland are now like, the Senate doesn't have to do that. The Senate can defy Donald Trump. Why? Because they weren't really interested in norms. They weren't really interested in systems and constructs. They were interested in pursuing their own agenda on the left. And they would undermine the legitimacy of the Senate as an institution to do it. And now they demand the Senate be something they want the Senate to be because, again, it preserves their norms, it preserves their systems, it preserves their constructs. Heads, they win. Tails, you lose. That's the system they constructed, except it's been turned on its head. The quarter is now on its razor's thin edge. It's not tilted on either side. They can't win. The coin hasn't flipped completely over. They wanted to talk about the rules and the norms in the Senate for Merrick Garland. Now they want the Senate to be an independent body. They will say and do whatever they can. The left can systematically destroy every institution. Look at the war on the Supreme Court led in the media by ProPublica and others to undermine the legitimacy of the United States Supreme Court. It has been an orchestrated effort since they do not control the power in the United States Supreme Court. And now you've got Donald Trump appointing people to undermine institutions from within, and they are beside themselves. The same people who are willing to undermine the United States Supreme Court because they don't control it are out to get Kash Patel because he'll control an institution they think they should control. And the fact that they think they can get their norms by institutions they control is the very reason those institutions need to be razed to the ground, leveled, and rebuilt. So much of the talk of norms, there is some legitimate talk of norms. There is some legitimate talk of systems. There is some legitimate talk of integrity in constitutional systems and constructs. There is some. We can't paint so broad that we exclude the fact that there are some legitimate ones, and they are found within the articles and designs of the Constitution. But so many of the constructs that the left brings up, like, for example, separation of church and state, the way they interpret it, that's not actually in the Constitution or in the founding vision of the country. That's something the left imposed, and now we're all supposed to adhere to it. But guess what? A majority of Americans have said, nope, we're done with those. We're done with those constructs. We're done with them. We disagree with you. That's why the left has moved so much to credentialism. That you can't have an opinion on whether a man can become a woman because you're not a biologist. The problem is most biologists also agree. And so, well, you don't actually know what you're talking about because it's not your lived experience. And then someone comes with their lived experience and they've reversed themselves. They're like, no, we can't talk to you either. You're a bigot. They go from you got to have the right credentials to when you have the right credentials, well, I'm sorry, it's not your lived experience, to when it is your lived experience, you're just a bigot. They've designed systems and constructs to preserve themselves and prop them up and benefit themselves, and the media goes in the same direction all the time, trying to benefit the left with their norms. They all the time going with the left to benefit the things they've constructed in society that aren't actually in the Constitution. They are actually part of the American rubric and framework of society, but the left has imposed them using the bureaucracy, using the elite, using a democratic Democratic-backed Supreme Court at the time and all these other institutions that they controlled, and now they don't control them, and so they're systematically trying to destroy those institutions. They see Donald Trump doing the same with their institutions, and they're appalled. They're aghast, and they have the media on their side to discredit them and to discredit guys like Kash Patel. Donald Trump has won the popular vote in this country. And actually, if you remember, there were about 3 weeks in there where people were like, there are so many votes outstanding in California, he might actually not have won the popular vote. Well, it turns out he's not going to get 51%, but he still won the popular vote. More people embraced his vision of America than Kamala Harris's. Now, the dirty little secret for Republicans, if we're honest about it, is it had very much to do with the economy and not as much to do with Trump's overall agenda. That's fair. It's in the data. You may want to dismiss it, but that's what the Democrats did too. And now look at them. Be very careful. But I think it's safe to say as well that a lot of Americans see a system that doesn't work for them. And they're okay with Donald Trump bringing in the bulls and putting them in the china shop to smash the institutions that don't work for the American public. And again, this goes back to the clip I played earlier from Ken Delaney about, the FBI director is so powerful. People don't realize how much power the FBI director has. He can kick in your door in the middle of the night, and he can plant a bug in your house, and you'll never know. And he can get the phone records of reporters without us knowing. Well, then maybe he shouldn't have that power. And the fact that you were fine with the FBI director having that power as long as you got to control the FBI director is actually part of the problem. So join me in reducing the size and scope of the federal government so we don't have to worry about FBI directors kicking in doors to plant bugs in the middle of the night, except for the actual bad guys, not just your political opponents. But I suspect a lot of people, they're just going to take we'll wait 4 years and take back over. And again, my concern with these Trump picks is not that they're going to wreck the institutions. My concern is that they're going to be played by the system and be outfoxed by a system smarter and more capable than they are when I actually do want the system to be reduced. Now, I want to reduce the bad air in your house as well. By the way, so I used my brand new Eden Pure Oxyleaf Thunderstorm the other day because I made gumbo in the house, and we don't have an exhaust vent in our kitchen right now. We're working with Frugal Kitchen to redo our kitchen, but we don't have the exhaust vent, and I made gumbo. And, as you're stirring the roux, and the roux, it starts to get a little smoky right there at the end, right before it crosses over to burn. I made great gumbo the other day, and I fired up my Eden Pure Thunderstorm, and I wiped out the odor in the house. In fact, we got home from Thanksgiving, and my kid said, "Does it smell like gumbo in here?" I was like, "That's right, because we use the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. Right now, you can get 3 of them, and you can save $200. You get them for less than $200. You go to EdenPureDeals.com, EdenPureDeals.com. You put in the discount code ERIC3, ERICK3, and you'll get 3 of them. You'll get one for upstairs, one for downstairs, one for your basement or your attic or your travel bag or your RV, wherever you need it. It is so small. I keep one in my travel bag. I can hold this sucker in my hand. It backs a wall up. I can use it with a USB cord to power it, even off my laptop or on my car. I can plug it directly into the wall, which I did the other night at the house. It generates plasma to kill bacteria and viruses. It generates ozone to wipe out any and every odor, including smoky gumbo odor. EdenPureDeals.com, the discount code ERIC3, ERICK3 at EdenPureDeals.com. Welcome back. It is Eric Erickson. So, beginning of the next hour, I have a tradition on this program. I have literally done this every year since I've been on radio, which was starting in 2011. And it is on the first day of December that I am on radio, I explain why Christmas is on December 25th. I know many of you, like me, were raised to believe it was because the Christians were co-opting a pagan holiday. Actually, there's a lot of evidence that that is not true. So, here's the ticket. If you miss it, or you need it in repeat, if you text ERIC, ERICK, to 33777, you'll be able to get the podcast. It'll be the beginning of hour 3 of today's show. That's December 2nd for those of you listening later. Or You can listen to the live stream. We've got the live stream set up now on single link. You listen from 12 to 3 live Eastern time, and then it repeats itself starting at 3 p.m. every 3 hours. So you can figure that out. So the third hour of the program, when that would be for your time of day, or just subscribe to the podcast. Or you should be listening live. Some of you are on delay. Some of you aren't going to get the third hour given your station. I'm sorry, that's not on me, but I will explain archaeologically, historically, why Christmas is December 25th. It is not Saturnalia, as so many of you think it is. That's the way I was raised as well, but there's a lot of evidence to the contrary. However, before I get to any of that, I gotta say, have you seen Donald Trump's DEA pick? The Drug Enforcement Agency, one of his top law enforcement guys. Even the MAGA supporters are scratching their heads on this one. So it's the Hillsborough County, Florida sheriff who's really big into DEI. He's had drag queen celebrations. He was harassing people during COVID shutdowns, harassing businesses. A lot of people say, what on earth is this guy? He very much looks like he should not be the pick, and yet this is where we are. I'm scratching my head on this one, on this DEA pick. I'm hoping he'll reconsider it because the guy seems very progressive, and I don't know that we want him in charge of anything. All right, why Christmas is December 25th when we come back. AI might be the most important new computer technology ever. It's storming every industry. Everybody's talking about it. Billions of dollars invested, so buckle up. The problem is AI needs a lot of speed and processing power. So how do you compete without costs spiraling out of control? It's time to upgrade to the next generation of the cloud. Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. OCI is a single platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs. OCI has 4 to 8 times the bandwidth of other clouds, offers one consistent price instead of variable regional pricing, and of course, nobody does data better than Oracle. So now you can train your AI models at twice the speed and less than half the cost of other clouds. If you want to do more and spend less, like Uber, 8x8, Databricks, Mosaic, take a free test drive of OCI at oracle.com/Erickson, ERICKSON. That's oracle.com/Erickson, oracle.com/Erickson. Go check them out today.